Hello, Shan Dave, superpowers. Been following your guys' videos. Been doing personality Myers-Briggs, socionics, and other things, I guess, since about 2010. It's 2010, 2011. That's when I started. And I'm just trying to speed up the whole get to know me process. So I thought some autobiographical things would be helpful. And I know you guys have not a lot of time, or at least you already devote a lot of time to what you're doing. So I'm kind of I don't know, an unprofitable thing. Obviously, I'll pay you guys money to type me or anything like that. I love your classes. I love supporting you guys online in that way. So, hear about some biological things, so I don't seem a little bit too sleepy to you, but maybe I am. I figure the best thing I could do is try to be as comfortable as possible so that you can get some kind of information. I like the things that you guys say. Sadly, I haven't watched all of your videos, all 160 or 80. Oh, I'm sorry. There's probably like 200 something. Don't know. Don't keep track of the numbers. But I like how you guys do what you do. I like that you guys cuss. It's fantastic. My wife doesn't really let me cuss, but you guys showed me that I'm not alone and that other people can find it kind of endearing or more authentic to use categories like stupid, dumb, uh, fucking fuckers, things like that. Those kind of categories. So that's nice. What else? I like that you guys have a shared language together as in a relationship. I've been trying for a while to have me and my wife have a shared language. She and everyone else wouldn't say that's what I'm doing since I'm not conforming enough to how she likes to speak, which is, in my understanding, an EJ kind of manner. How she wants to be the most appropriate form of speech for everyone that might potentially be listening. In my mind, she's a little psychotic for how much she's always paying attention to potential watchers. She has a lot of good reasons for that, though. She was watched in a kind of sexually abusive way by her father figure in her life. So since then, she's been kind of always watched in her mind, and she always is trying to act in the PC way. She's from Canada, too, so maybe that explains more of her PC nature. Not sure why I started talking about her. Probably something to do about shared language, and you guys are a good model of that. This system is kind of like your shared language, shared space for you guys to discuss new information or information that you're trying to integrate into yourselves and your guys' relationship. I would could talk about my family, or I could talk about my thinking about personality type. I've been typed as an INFJ. I've been typed as all of the NPs, all the NE savior functions. If I fully shut my mind off, I think I have very much EP qualities to me. I usually blame it on something like aphasia that I got in about 2012. I think 2011, 2012, 2011. I was in a car wreck in the fall time of 2011, and I blacked out for, I don't know, 8+ hours. But I was fully like interacting with everybody. I just don't have any recollection of it. And everyone said all I was doing was picking on the paramedics and the doctors and making jokes the constant time that I was unconscious. But I look back to that as kind of a validation of my personality type. That they all the paramedics and doctors want to know if I was on drugs, and everyone was like, no, that's just how he acts. So that's nice to know that I have that kind of outgoing, fun-loving personality, even when my consciousness is not really there, at least not that I would be aware of. And ever since then, I've kind of felt like I was more stuck in the present, and it kind of got worse and worse as it goes. I am not able to imagine things. I looked up, and the closest thing I can find is aphantasia, along with my aphasiatic problems as well. Aphantasia is that different levels of it. Some people can't visualize things, but they can hear their own internal voice. Other people can see like letters, but not pictures. And then there's some people like me who have blackness and silence in their head all the time. Yeah. So when I take a breath or something like that, it's not a planning moment for me. When someone's talking to me, it's not like there's no internal dialogue. I feel highly responsive, and that's it. Just a highly responsive person. Rather directionless. So with all of that, I don't know. I really don't know what you would say I am. I like how you guys determine when someone's talking slow or when someone's talking kind of fast or an energized state. I have no idea if you would consider me in kind of a demon state right now, since I'm talking slow. Am I comfortable? Sadly, no, I'm not. I feel kind of watched. I had to move out here. This is my shed area, because in the house, my wife, who thinks I'm kind of crazy about this whole personality stuff. I'm finishing up my master's right now, and I'm trying to write my thesis about the intersection between individual difference and subsequent language acquisition, or just language use in general. So I've been studying, really trying to get my mind around modern research around personality, and along with some really recent research and books that just came out like 2021. I go to you guys for my popular kind of personal fix. There's a lot of other people that I've gone to, like for archetypal reading. I can't remember the authors' names, but one was like the 7 plots in all stories. That was a useful thing to get my head around patterns and archetypal things that I'm trying to use in my language acquisition thesis, where stable individual differences will be kind of the focus on how to get people engaged in language acquisition. So anyway, I'm in this space because my wife thinks that I'm kind of crazy paying you guys money to hear you talk about personality, which she thinks I already know too much about, but I don't. I don't have a lot of, I have more knowledge supposedly than her about personality things, and she finds it interesting, like a parlor game or kind of like a fake mind reader, kind of the connections that I can make. But I just wouldn't feel comfortable around her making this video, and I tried because she would just make fun of me, and she can keep stories in her mind to make fun of me for a while. So anyway, didn't feel comfortable about doing that here. I would assume that I'm coming off as a low energy person who cares about gathering a lot of information and not feeling like they can be themselves around the tribe, like my wife and my son as well, because he's 9. He's also what I consider an EJ. I would consider him an EFJ. But he likes to always listen in about anything that I say. And he'll be questioning me or copying me, making jokes about it. Yeah, I'm not sure why I care right now to mention all that. Probably should delete it. But I said it. Alright, next up. Some autobiographical information, I guess. I think my father is an ISJ. He's a preacher. He just basically repeats the same stories over and over and over again, but every once in a while, for no reason, reality situation hits him and we learn a new story about him. And it's very detailed. Got a great information. If I were to guess, I would say he's an ISFJ. But I'm never good at the second functions. I would assume my mom is an IFP. I would assume my sister is an INJ. My wife, an EJ. I consider her an ETJ, but she really cares about being called stupid and dumb, ignorant, and person, like everyone's opinions of her and stuff. So obviously I would assume just dumb Myers-Briggs thinking EFJ. But she's not really good at chatting with people. She, like the Shannon monster says, Shannon says that when she writes, she can write robotic and stuff. Very much her. She's neck deep into a bureaucratic system management. She loves playing with banking and getting deals and basically organizing her space consistently and having a non-emotion triggering environment. So for all of these reasons, mostly just her lack of ability to handle social environments, I would say that she's an ETJ. If I had to put my chips on a 50-50 bet, I would go all in ETJ and learn a valuable lesson if I'm wrong. My other kids are young, so maybe you guys disagree about typing young. I don't know. I'm probably just a neck deep into intuitive guessing, so it's no big deal for me. My son, I think, is an ISJ. He is 2. My second youngest son, my youngest seems like, I don't know, a P. That's all I can get on him. My oldest daughter seems like an EP, an EFP. So there you go. Tell him the second function now. But I could be wrong. But I don't think I am. But I could be. Again, I'm not really set on anything. When someone told me I was an INFJ and they did it with conviction, it was, I don't know if you guys know, as Pod Layer. They were kind of had a small, very small growing community on YouTube and a very small inner circle of people, very much about being able to read body movements, facial body movements and design and personality type based on that, and not like you guys say. You guys don't type on the type of contents that someone says or talks about. You talk about the way they do it. So you guys are pretty close. They broke down because it was kind of like sadly a cult situation where there was a main character who seemed to be the charismatic center, who supposedly was able to type everyone 100% accurately, blah blah blah. And over times of revealing that they didn't know or they were wrong, or anyway, there's just a big blow up, and now it doesn't have anyone really associated with it. I think they still have the website. But anyway, they were impressive, although, like I said, cultish. And you guys seem a lot more down to earth. A lot more down to earth. And you've already addressed this. Is OP a cult situation? And they're like, sure, whatever. You guys said, don't bother us with all this cult talk. We know what we said, and we're trying to prove it as most objectively as possible. And you guys acknowledge that it's a hard game to play. A lot of subjectivity is involved, and you're just trying to get the numbers to make yourselves also feel a little bit more validated, even though you guys feel very valid in how you're going in this and what you're seeing. I guess I'll tell you some of my deepest problems, and then you can tell me what that sounds like, what I am. Back in 2012, again, when I look up and when I act like I'm visualizing something or when I'm making motions, it's black in there and there's no sound. So keep that in mind. I'm just saying things and hoping that kind of like triggers something. So I'm saying 2012, 2013. Does that feel right? I'm trying to recall dates. It was not 2011 because 2011, 2010, 2011, got in a car crash. Yeah, 2012 is when it happened. My preaching father, who I was just trying to emulate and whatever, I was in Bible college, coming acquainted with Bible and whatnot, said I was going to hell, me and my grandchildren were, because I believed in kind of a love wins idea. So that hurt me a lot, that I can, through just trying real hard to be super vulnerable and dive deep into the Bible and stuff, that I can unwillingly kind of lead people, especially even my most intimate relationships, to hell. And my father's always been a super chill person, so he just lost his crap because his little baby girl was dating like an atheist or a kind of love wins person. And so he was projecting a lot and freaking out like we'd never seen before. So there was a lot of problems with that, since I just firmly distrusted myself even more than I already had. And I lost belief in free will around 2012. 2013, 2014. Yeah, 2012. was on a downward stroke, and in 2013 I lost my belief in free will, and that was tough. And so I just kind of curled up into a ball and just waited for somebody or something to direct me. I came out of that within a blind faith kind of way, just believing that life isn't really worth living if I don't actually have free will, and if that it is just an illusion. So, for no reason, in fact, when all reasons observing life, it seems like everything is just a manipulation and a control thing that I'm just a pawn in. I chose to believe in beauty, goodness, truth, reality, things of that nature. And, of course, free will being kind of the center of my conscious experience, actual will, which I believe is a magical thing, for sure. Which, instead of doubting my conscious experience of having volition, I just put my chips in on all in it, because I was pretty down and depressed not having volition. And you guys talk about that too, how you keep trying your best to see volition, but really all you see are the functions or the needs. You call it the code. All you see is the code. So it's very hard to feel volitional, to feel willful, to feel even authentic or real. So that's a struggle with me and you guys. This is my heavy emphasis, just for my own sanity, on putting all in on needing free will to be like the basis of everything that I do, and to like use that as the correction of where I see falseness in other people when they are discounting or devaluing or potentially overvaluing free will. Just that right balance of free will in the center of it all is something important to me. But anyway, you guys say what you say, but you also are big into responsibility and I would say volition, at least consciousness. And to me, like, the center of consciousness is kind of that agency. So anyway, I'm sure it's a struggle for you guys too, determining how much will can you put into something, because it has major effects on like our legal system and stuff. I'm sure you guys have thought, and you guys think deeply about your responsibility, knowing this code and the predictability of people, how maybe they don't really deserve the deep consequences that they get, as far as death penalties and stuff, when it was just like an improper empathetic response, like a lack of empathy, a lack of ability for someone to see inside of their world and the problems that exist, and also the perpetrator's inability to see outside of their world and seeing how stuck they are. So you guys also struggle with knowing how much to put on. I struggle with the code versus, yeah, you willfully made a bad decision. And just to give clarity, you guys who are feel very confident in your ability, at least more than other people, to type in a kind of objective manner, if you guys were to sink the time into it, then you might have to deal with the level of conscious choice that you have to manipulate people to get your benefit, and leave them in kind of a slightly unconscious, less conscious state than you. And that would be, in a lot of people's opinion, kind of a bad power dynamic to be in, where you hold the conscious data density, and you only like give out just the little bit of data density that you have to other people, to keep them at a relatively lower data wealth, knowledge wealth bracket than yourself. Again, I don't see that in you. I don't see that you guys are keeping back any of your knowledge or data. I think that you guys are trying your best to just disseminate and trust that other people will be able to do various other things with this information if they try, and hope that people pay the proper respects to you. And if not, neither here nor there. I'm just saying that there does seem, even in your system, to be a possibility that through gaining these conscious awareness, that you could probably fault somebody for their volitional choices, even though you guys struggle with identifying what is actually volition or what is, again, just the code being incarnated and enacted. So anyway, that was the first part of my kind of fears, my lack of control. I overcame that. I think, obviously, I still don't like when my EJ wife tries to control me, which she's not trying to control me. And again, I know using those words kind of are loaded with you, since you're going to be like, oh, they said you don't like the EJ controlling you, so that means you're an IP or an EP. Well, yes, I do think I have penis more than Janus. But then again, I'm ignorant. And when someone gave me a bunch of good anecdotal experiences and arguments that were convictful, I was like, yeah, I guess I could be an INFJ. Like, I do subjectively value these concepts. Like, I'm hyper been focused on personality nonstop since 2010. Before personality, I felt like I was kind of drifting. My father and people who knew me would always say that I've never met a stranger, and that I was always interested in what anyone had to say or any sort of knowledge. I would say that's a very accurate opinion of me. But also, like in school, I felt like I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be free. I always acted stupid so that I could in some way fit in. Not that I thought everyone else was stupid. I just thought accurately that in today's modern Western society, that standing out or whatever just attracts kind of opposition. And I was not ready for that. I guess I was not ready for that kind of testing. My mother says I was always a fearful person growing up. True. I don't like heights. I'll yeah. I guess that's what I thought. All right. What else can I talk about? I mentioned control. Whatever. Can't get away from that. Yeah. I do resist being controlled. And I also resist me controlling other people. That's also a fear of mine. Oh, and that's the second fear. So the first one was my lack of control. So there you go. I just chose blindly to do leave in free will. The second big thing happened in 2013. Is that right? 2012? 2013. Yep, spring break of 2013. Yep. Yes. Exactly right. I was, I guess, still kind of confused, getting to know people. It was kind of like a brighter period during that time. Possibly. Yeah, I think it was. With feeling I had free will, I was getting better, I think, at personality, or at least I was getting better with my rhetorical skills. And then I did acid for no reason, really. Just, I had a close friend who had a harder life than me. Their parents beating them and taking drugs and whatever, and them feeling kind of like I left them, and kind of got better luck with my parents, with getting a degree, blah, blah, blah. Never wanted him to feel like I was better. It probably comes from my parents. They said, never feel like you're better morally than somebody else. We're all crap. And so, like, even if you're a vegan or something like that, you should still eat another person's food just so you don't offend them. Don't make it feel like their food isn't good enough for you. Just go for it. And that teaching translated to me into, they like drugs. I'm not going to let that kind of disrupt our relationship, so whatever. So I took just 2 hits of acid. It wasn't my first time taking acid, but of course you don't know if it was LSD or not. Definitely had hallucinogenic effects. But after that, it was a bad trip. It was really bad. It was kind of like a permanent kind of hell experience. Like, you feel like you're getting somewhere, but really you're just producing kind of these fake goals in your head, and you're always getting there almost closer. It's on the tip of your tongue kind of scenario. And then right before it comes out, nothing comes out. And there's just kind of like a laughter, like a sinister kind of laughter that happens right before you get to whatever you were looking for, whatever the answer was, blah, blah, blah. And then you realize that you kind of just wasted all this time spinning your gears for nothing. And that I was constantly kind of stuck in this. And that I felt I learned that I was able to try to short circuit this kind of meaninglessness by creating stories and worlds rhetorically for other people. And of course, for myself. To just give false meaning to people. So that's what I saw through. I saw through the fact that through this personality typing stuff, I supposedly saw through that I was able to just learn data points about people and then reconstruct it using repeated words, repeated like memories and words that had emphasis of emotion, had emphasis of ordering principles, or just, like just goals or memories, ideals or memories, and how those were, how memories, how perceptions and ideals or goals were influenced by ordering principles and evaluations and emotions. And then I would create kind of like a descriptive world scenario of how they view things potentially, even in their unaware state, how they order things, and trying to offer predictions about how they would like or what they would like, and offering options. And then I slowly distrusted myself, that I wasn't even engaging with some kind of real anything. I was just gaining pretty words and pretty combinations of words and learning what kind of type of prettiness that other people want. Just creating alternative realities that they buy into and they hold on to, and that kind of get them to forget about their meaningless, just going after nothingness, kind of creating a spinning of the gears. Trying to get them to forget that so I can forget it. So the more I'm able to help other people, the more I think, okay, I must be getting better at identifying reality, and so I should be able to be moving closer and closer to something solid the more I help people. I lost my grip after that acid. And that's when I start to think that I would say aphasia took over. Aphasia and, yeah, aphasia and aphantasia. Aphantasia didn't necessarily start then. That's when I thought I was having schizophrenic episodes after that acid trip. Of hearing things all the time, hearing the laughter, actually seeing manifestations and audio, like when I'm watching TV, the visual and the audio changed so that I heard the voices external on the TV talking to me. And I felt like I was stuck in a eternal present, unable to project or do anything in my head. I was unable to formulate thinking or anything. I was just, and that was the most responsive I ever was. And I couldn't remember anything either. Couldn't pull anything up. So it was about the beginning of my aphantasia and my aphasia. 2013, after the acid trip, and but looking back at it now, I would characterize it as I was struggling with the fact, I think, that I might feel like, because I have blind trust that I have volition, that I have free will, but that I'm still just creating a world that I like, just so that I can escape the harsh reality that I am stuck in kind of a controlled state, that that no matter what I do, it's still kind of like an Inception reality, that I'm thousands of layers deep in a dream world, and I'll never crack the surface. In every moments that I do feel like I get some kind of like crack in the surface, I always feel like I'm a deep disconnect. And how have I gotten out of that one? The fact that I'm in dream world after dream world, and that even my belief in free will is a joke, because so many layers of subjectivity and confusions of subjectivity in the way. I have not gotten over that. I don't think. I still say my deepest fear is non-reality. Non-reality. Where would that fit in your guys' system? It seems like an intuitive problem, right? Like my disconnect. I tell my wife that my greatest fear is non-reality. Her greatest fear is emptiness. So that seems like a lack of DI, like severe. Like she almost doesn't even want to look at that. And when she talks about what she's afraid of and blah blah blah, and I was like, that's not what you're afraid of. You're afraid of that you're empty, that you have nothing to give, and that ultimately, when push comes to shove, you're just a robot. And of course, that makes her cry. And she said, I can't believe that I forget that. It's like you say, just gone. So that's her deep fear. And when I tell her mine is non-reality, she's like, that doesn't make sense. But of course, I see that in her. Like, she's afraid of the insubstantiality of her actions and character. And she would like it to be more substantial, more from her. But she feels like she's dictated by the tribe so much that she has nothing left. I don't think anyone would ever say I'm dictated by the tribe. I mean, I'm conscious of when I look nasty, and I just need to like brush my teeth or try to. I mean, I feel better when I'm not fat, and people think I look better. But then when I did lose weight when I was younger, I was pretty resentful by the fact that people started treating me different. They started to be nicer to me and wanted to talk to me more just because I wasn't fat. Probably wore nicer clothes. Didn't like that aspect. So anyway, that's my deep fear. Non-reality, not being able to break free of the subjective and enter into the real world. I got no guess of what I am. And this is 40 minutes. I think I remember originally, like, I don't think you guys take these videos anymore. So whenever you get around to it, if you get around to it, if this was good enough, of enough information, I hope it is. Like I said in my initiation video, I don't have any attachment to any type. I've pretty much relied on being an NP for the majority of my personality assessments. And NP. The D's, no idea. Pretty solidly confident I'm not an S, so pretty solid about the N aspect of my personality. And in my experience, let me just tell you, the EPs are the top of my list of the people that I like. Specifically, the ETPs are the top of my list. Just because I can fuck around with them, push them, bullshit with them, and they will almost non-stop keep dialoguing with me until, of course, I choose to talk about emotionally evocative topics or serious topics or blah blah blah, and then they can kind of like ghost a little bit, especially if it's like social media. If it's in person, they'll just continually make jokes about it, which is fantastic. So in my experience, the people I deem to be ETPs, solid favorite. ENTP would be my favorite. Just because of the back and forth and the play time. That's fun. The EFPs, I've never been that fond of. Like when it's the back and forth, I love it. It's fantastic. It's just nonstop energy. But I can piss them off. I can say something disrespectful to them. One time I think I threw a lukewarm cup of coffee, like that much hot water, or a cup of hot water in a coffee mug. And I threw it across the field. Felt like half a football field, and I just nailed an ENFP or an EFP friend. And he never talked to me again. Just blew up. Him and his crew just but he was all about me and thought I was an awesome dude. And then that's all it took. Great friendship just ended by, in my mind, talentfully throwing water across, like just the tiniest bit. Like I'm surprised it even landed or splashed on him. It was magic. He didn't see it that way. Anyway, the EPs, top of my list. EFFPs, like there's a strong chasm of favor that I have for the ETPs over the EFPs, just because all the EFPs I can piss off because they think I'm being too smart, sarcastic. I don't know. My experience. Below them would be the IJs that I like next. I don't know if that conflicts with your guys' theory, since IJs should be the controllers that I resist. But I just see IJs like little books. And you guys talk about chapter talk, so it's not too big of an analogy difference. I can piss them off, especially the INJs, because I'm like nonstop liking all of their information, but over time they start to feel like I'm draining them. They don't see why I'm asking the questions anymore, and so INJs can ghost me more. The ISJs, as you guys probably wouldn't be too surprised, are endless reservoirs of their area of bookishness. So whatever they can book or assimilate, they're tireless. Except of course when they get tired, but not because of my questioning. Just they're just more prone, I guess, to sleepiness as an IJ. More, I obviously that could be wrong, a statement, but anyway, IJs are the top. And do I have a distinction preference between ITJs versus IFJs? I don't think I do. I value them both. I probably would just put ISJs above INJs, and not because I think I'm an NE, but just because I can get more information out of the ISJs. The INJs I like, though, because it's more broad. And I'm sure you would maybe disagree with that. But in comparison to the ISJs and the INJs, yeah, are just able to extrapolate this bucket, and they're able to take it over and say, yeah, I can try to make this area and whatever fit into my bucket. A more omni system, as opposed to an ISJ, which would have very like rigid detail lines, and it would be harder for them to cross discipline or cross domain their knowledge, which is fine. I can do that for them. But it's not as a high gap. Like ETPs, top of the mountain, EFPs, very far down, and then below that, and honestly, they can almost take over the EFPs, are the IJs, and ISJ and INJ, like, they're battling for their positions right now. I think ISJs are winning, but if I meet a good INJ, like I have met some really good INJs, and we're close, but they're just more prone. They're just more prone to ghosting. But all ISJs, if I freak an ISJ out, maybe they feel like they shared too much information to me. I don't know. They can ghost me. Anyone can ghost me. Maybe I'm annoying. You tell me. I am talking more freely now. Now that I'm not talking so slow and seriously. Now that I'm talking about the theory and how I'm putting people into them. So maybe that's probably some information for you. I'm just tracking that right now, that I have more energy now that I'm talking about ideas, and I'm not talking about like specific people and how they influence me and blah blah blah. Yeah, the F dominance. So the IFPs and the EFJs, in my understanding of them, when I have characterized them as that, they are unbelievably at the bottom of my list. No offense to possibly my wife. No offense possibly to my daughter or my mother or any of the other dominant Fs in my life, but they are so below the bottom. ISFPs generally irk me the most, just because it's hard for me to believe that someone who has such little thought into anything that they do could gain such acceptance in any format, in any domain. So anyway, I'm showing my prick nature. But of course, I have a lot of friends that are ISFPs. What I would consider ISFP, INFP. They're just real easy to offend, and that's tough. That's real tough for me. I don't want to offend you. I want to fight you, but I don't want to make you cry or want to run away or anything like that. I want to fight you at your level. But they're pretty resistant to that. Same with in my experience of what I consider to be ENFJs and ESFJs. Of course, you guys have tracked masculine versions of those. The which I like. I relate to that one guy. I think Gary V. That's what you said. He said to get his emotionality or his seriousness hyped up, he pictures his loved ones, intimate ones, dead. I related to that. That's a very useful tool, to make a moment serious. I normally try to do that kind of verbalizing to myself, like when I'm separating from somebody that I like, that I got to see. So there you go. Oh, and below, so top are the EPs, the ETPs, and then below them are the EFPs and the IJs, intermingling and fighting for the second position. Third position taken by T dominants. In my experience, they're all fine. They're nothing special to me. No offense to Shan, and or some of my closest friends that help me with when I'm stupid and my stupidity and my lack of follow through and thinking, and possibly my wife. No offense to her, but in my experience with T dominants, that they're able to fight back, except for, of course, like some TEs can still get offended and hold a grudge or an uncomfortableness for a lot longer than the ITPs can. So, prefer an ITP over a TE, just because that FI can be kind of sensitive. And I would put like I said, the dominant F's way at the bottom. Like first, second, and third, all pretty proximal up there. Dominant F. Can I talk about anything fast and with energy? I don't know. I didn't plan for any of this. Just kind of spontaneous. So I really have no idea. Obviously, I wouldn't be an IJ since I don't know if it is aphasia or my aphantasia that I have, or like you guys said, like more audio versus visual, or more tester versus kinesthetic, or maybe more kinesthetic. I don't know. That is changing the fact that I don't really have anything going on up here. You guys wouldn't call it aphantasia. You wouldn't call it aphasia or anything. You would just say that I was hyper audio and hyper kinesthetic, maybe. Yeah. You might just, it might be my gender modalities that are causing some of these weirdness in me. If I were to animal type myself, which I know you guys don't necessarily care about, I just want to end this. This is an hour. Maybe you'll be able to tell what I am. I'm sorry if I wasted an hour of your time. Sorry if you watched this and you didn't like it. I'm just trying to give you some authentic videos of me. I don't know if this is bird chirping. Shannon is supposed to be a chirper, but I follow her just fine on the videos, and you guys have said that that's a lot of editing out of all the chirpiness. So I don't know anything what I am after 10 years. On all the forums that I've been on, they make fun of me. Like, oh, clearly you haven't studied too hard. You must be a NFP, they say. Because I am supposedly be able to, and they think that NFPs are the least likely to want to be typed, and they're the most likely to be able to see all of the types inside of themselves in the forums, in the Myers-Briggs standard forums. I've never been able to get into Enneagram. But anyway, I have no idea if this was chirping to you. I'm pretty confident you guys wouldn't call me an IJ. Um, just because my blast probably in these videos didn't come out too well and a channel changing too much, or maybe that's inappropriate. Maybe you think I've stayed on the same topic the whole time. I don't know. I'm not tracking, right? Like I don't see where I came from or where I'm going. I'm just trying my best to stay on some kind of general topic as best I can. Um, so I wouldn't put blast in my top just because of how unconscious I am about the directions I'm going. Like, I have no agenda. I think blast people have an agenda. That's the whole narrowing down thing, along with sleeping, right? Like, like every time I talk to someone, I feel like I'm processing things for the first time, even if I've talked about it before. I hate things repeating. I probably punish my kids way too much for repeating. I think I repeated myself a couple times and I realized I did it in high school. That like people heard me and they didn't mean me to repeat myself, and that maybe hurt me. And so I don't want my kids to be repeaters and just to assume that most people hear you, and if they don't respond, then they probably don't want to respond. And it's okay. But yeah, I can't stand repeating. So I would say that I am play consume or consume play. I don't care. I have no attachment to those titles. And I would say that I am probably blast last, even though I'm always like my best thinking is where I'm in front of a mirror or something, and I'm able, or when I'm like, you're going to be the questioning side of me, I'm going to be the answering side, and we're just going to stick with that, which I would assume is kind of a play style of processing that back and forth and splitting myself, as opposed to assuming that there is an individual that is creating kind of stacks and chapters of data. So I would put myself as blast last, and then consume play or play consume. It doesn't matter which. Well, it does to you guys, because that would determine if I am an OEDE or an OEDI. Not that I'm OE first. I was just saying that would determine what you guys think of me. As far as gender modalities, I would assume I'm audio. And I have no real orientation in the world, so I would assume I'm audio tester and not audio kinesthetic. Yeah, in fact, I would probably say it was audio first, then tester, and then visual last, and then kinesthetic third. But again, I'm not strong on the gender modalities. It's probably my weakest thing. I like your guys' gender modalities though, and animals. I like that addition to the Myers-Briggs system. Yep. Thank you guys for listening, if you do. And I'm going to keep practicing and learning. I just thought, and of course, I will pay whatever you guys need me to pay to get typed. I hope this was enough. You guys talk about taking 10 hours to type somebody. And largely, why do I want this kind of type thing? Again, it's very hard for me to see outside of myself. And if I could have your guys' help, I have no one else's help really to personality type me that I can trust. The closest person I have, like, barely gets into personality type, and he would say that I'm an NTP, and he would assume that I'm an ENTP, just because I'm more crazy and spontaneous and outgoing than he could possibly imagine himself being. But maybe I'm just an extrovert INTP. But I am fine with you guys saying I'm anything. All right, thank you so much, Dave and Shan and Dave. You guys are legitimately the best people to listen to. You keep your content real shortish. On YouTube, yeah, on your program, it can run a little long, but it's fine since people are paying for it and they want to hear more of your guys' sounds and motions. It's over an hour now. Is there anything I want to tell you that will make me fully feel like I got it all out there and you can now type me perfectly? I wish I could cry in front of you. Can't think of anything to make me cry. Oh, I didn't mention God at all. Not really. I like God. He's one of the main reasons why God, not he, just God is one of the main reasons why it's hard for me to really believe I'm not just kind of fucking my time away with personality, because figuring out the kind of code, the matrix codes of personality, like my Christianity is very much rooted in the white stone of, I think, Revelation 3 or 1 verse 3 or something like that. That for those who persevere in this life and do whatever needs to be done for the kingdom of God, they will receive a white stone from God. And on this white stone will be the name, the true name of the individual that only they and God will know for themselves. This is the name that God gives them, or that we earn, something like that. And C.S. Lewis quotes and says that he could not picture why there's such variety if not for the ability to reflect God in the difference in a very particular and important way. So all of the variation is like in a world like the sun and the moon, and all of the different states and phases are all like echoes or messages that are uniquely representing God. And so that would be like the individual personality as well. Like God is such a complex entity that, and just like we're complex entities, right? Like, so one person would see us differently. We would be bent and refracted by that person's perception, and they would shine an aspect of our personality and their personality together, so that when one person dies, that reflective memory, that reflective mirror is gone from the world, and now all of the parts of everybody that would be filtered through me or filtered through an individual that's dead is gone from the world. And that is basically what I'm sorry that wasn't clear. Again, so that's why I would say I'm blast last. The idea is that it's not a complex idea. That every individual is uniquely expressing a portion of God, and maybe, like you said, maybe they do have like the in role, but of course there are different measurements and degrees of fulfilling the intuitive role, the intuitive side of God, or something like that. And so it seems possibly like a vain thing to try to construct my world of worlds that will be able to objectively kind of encapsulate the code that God designed. I guess I would feel like I'm going against the tribe and all of their accumulated knowledge. It's kind of like you said, like you don't want to learn how to make bread because it's already been made. And so that was Dave that said that. He doesn't want to have to reinvent a wheel when there's already a fine one made. That's possibly why there's such the masses of people have all been working on just kind of more intuitive or culturally dictated personality typological systems. Like in India, I think they break up the elephant and the rat and the camel. I think the camel's like the good state, and the cat. I don't need to go into it, but it's just talking about the different characteristics. Some of them take a lot of feeding to maintain without little benefit, and some take little feeding with a lot of benefit. So camels would be like the ideal. A lot of feeding for a lot of benefit. Cats, little feeding, little benefit. Rats, a lot of feeding, little benefit. And elephants, a lot of feeding and a lot of benefit. So elephants and camels would obviously be the two good side of things, and cats and rats not so much. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of different culturally decided personality things. So, and they're much more simple, less complex. And the more complex you get it, the more it seems like you're just building, you're giving structure to a layer of the inception dream world that you're in, and you're wanting to just get it strong and stable because you want that control. You want to be able to feel like you're actually in reality, which I would assume is what Dave is trying to do. Dave is trying to get to reality, get more control. I'm not sure if you would agree with me on that. Do I want that? No, because I guess I would inherently believe that if I can control it, then it's not real. Because I always assume that God will always be kind of the uncontainable. Even though God, in my belief, fully came to be contained into humanity. And just to say that, like, did God have a personality type? That book about the seven plots. I don't remember the person who wrote it. Said that Jesus was like the most diverse in describing the logical versus the feeling, or the practical versus the intuitive. And they didn't do it. I don't. They did use those words, but they characterized it as Jesus was the perfect union of masculine and feminine qualities. Again, I can send you the link, the book. Actually, I have it. It's really good. It's talking about how like all of the 7 plots throughout all of history of all stories can be condensed down to like kind of like one pattern in form, which, as you guys have said, it's very close to the hero's journey, which is the hero and the heroines. He doesn't know the root of the word hero or heroine, but he thinks it has something to do with heirs. So all stories are made to try to help people grow up. Fits very much with what you guys are doing. Yep. Very possible I'm a bird chirper. Blast last. Unless, of course, you guys followed what I'm saying, and then maybe I'm not blast last. Yeah. All right. Under an hour and 10 minutes. Do I think you have enough? I would very much appreciate your feedback. I have no idea what I am. Thank you for the work you do. I would like to help in any way I can. If you see any potential in me, great. If not, I will keep learning from you guys, trying to support you in this kind of informal way. Yeah, more than happy. Like I consider it kind of like a spiritual thing to help you guys. If ever you would like me to help or to just give my opinion, once I prove myself that I'm not a complete dunce and that I do know things about personality type. Of course, I'm having to show my vulnerabilities here in the sense of showing that I really don't know what I am. But you guys might be able to see clearly after telling you that my fear is non-reality. Like being stuck in a dream world. Which would ultimately stop me from being able to meet the center personality of all reality, which would be God in my worldview. God is just kind of the center personality, just waiting for people to rise to the occasion, break through all of the falsehoods to enter and to try to meet face to face. Not the grand vivisection, but the grand enterprise will have finally consummated. Not necessarily sexual, of course, but I will have finally met the center person of it all. If I find a way to become more objective. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Trying to be objective. I am trying to see through my own bullshit too. So please help me. I think I'm ready to be beaten down by how meme-like I am. Meme-like, you guys say that. How much I'm just a recurring pattern, and I think I'm ready to face that. I don't think that I am pure or anything like that. I think I do need help. And I'm trying to track myself and things like that objectively. And if you need more data, like if you say you would like me to write down a log of things and condense it over 3 months for you to type me, I'll do that too. I don't know. Anything to take the load off of you. I mean, this is already over an hour, and I'm done. Thank you guys for your time. If you need anything else from me, please feel free. And I hope this gets to you. All right. Again, I go by James Grit. And I hope to talk to you soon. Or at least hear from you. Or at least figure out my type. But again, I don't want to put any more pressure on you. I know that you guys are busy and take as much time as you want. I'll try not to hound you, like, at all. I'll probably contact you like once a month to if this doesn't get back to me.